So Jordan wants me to mention that the EOS 3 is the last great film camera, which is just a complete bullshit statement. Look at this faux plastic on the back. This is disgusting to even hold. I want to drop the camera right now. It is a hideous monstrosity. Everybody knows the sexiest camera was the Nikon F100. That is the last greatest. Ooh, eye control. Welcome back, DPReview TV viewers. Chris Nichols here, and you may have seen a recent article on DPReview.com where Canon has just filed a patent for a brand new eye autofocus tracking system. Now, this is not eye autofocus tracking like we're seeing out of Canon, Nikon, and Sony right now. What we're talking about is actually tracking the movement of your eye as a way to position where the autofocus should be and where it should stay. However, let's keep in mind that this is just a patent. We have no idea how this system is going to work beyond it's trying to track your eye's movement with infrared beams and other technology. And I think the best way to understand where we are going in the future is to see where we've been in the past, because this is not Canon's first attempt at this. And that's why we've brought this with us, the Canon EOS 3, in my not very humble opinion, not the last of the greatest film cameras, but very interesting because it was one of Canon's models that had their own patented eye detect autofocus system at the time. This camera did track the human eye's movement, and by following that, could then move the autofocusing point selection to where you were looking in the frame. Now, we brought the Canon EOS 3. This was not the first camera to incorporate eye autofocus, but it was the most advanced. With a 45-point system of focusing points, you had to be very precise on where the eye looked, where it's going to focus. And so that's why this actually had a system where you could calibrate your eye so that it would detect it very precisely. Now, in theory, the idea is that wherever I look and touch the shutter button, the camera will then choose the closest autofocusing point. Sounds intuitive, but it just didn't work very well. And for a system developed by the Japanese, it really didn't work well on people with typical Asian eyes. It didn't work on people with dark eyes. If you had long eyelashes, it didn't work very well. And even calibrating it multiple times, wherever I look, it always seems to be 3 or 4 points to the right. Nothing I can do about it. It's just the way it goes. I'm sure Jordan, with his beautiful blue eyes, though, is having a great time.
I'm having a great time.
The other issue I would find, of course, is with an SLR, I am limited to where those autofocusing points are located. Okay, so I think you guys get that I'm not totally convinced about the effectiveness of this system. However, let's talk about the new patent, because we're not talking about SLRs anymore. We are talking about a mirrorless camera, which gives us essentially infinite coverage. Plus, let's keep in mind that camera technology's come a long way since the 90s. I could see this being a great way to start an initial tracking point. Right now, what we have to do is take the camera away from our face and touch screen on something, or I have to use the center point, lock on it, touch shutter halfway, then it starts tracking. Those are certainly not difficult things to do, but I could see how it would be useful where I could just look at my subject that I want to track, touch the shutter, that's where it locks, and then it switches over to its existing tracking technology to follow that subject accurately. Now, in the days of the EOS 3, selecting your autofocusing point was real pain. You had to hold the button down, spin a dial, and just toggle through all of your points. It was slow. But now we've got touchscreen interfaces, we've got joysticks, we play video games. This has all become second nature. It's very intuitive, and I think it's a great way to choose your autofocusing point now. So why do we need eye tracking autofocusing systems? What would the benefit be? Well, one thing to consider is a lot of the compact cameras on the market now. Many of them do not have space, or the manufacturer has simply not added a joystick to the back. And I can't tell you how many times we've complained about the lack of such a thing. We actually just did it with the Sony a6600. And so having the ability to then look somewhere and be able to select an autofocusing point quickly could have a lot of merit. Another issue that we do face with modern autofocus systems even today, as advanced as they are as picking out faces or eyes, I still have to go to some sort of analog method or let the camera decide which face and which eye to focus on. But with eye detect, this could very easily simplify things. I look at the nearest or farthest eye. If that's what I want in focus, I can easily look at the person that I actually want as the preference for my face to detect, and that would all make very intuitive sense. So except for the very select few that had this system work properly and really enjoyed it, this whole autofocus back in the 90s, it was a gimmick tracking the eye. And there's a reason why it didn't carry on into a lot of the newer digital cameras after that. But the last thought I'm going to leave you with is not that I'm worried the Canon system's not going to work well, but is it going to really be necessary when we have so many other systems in place now that are working so well today? I get that the inner control freak in us wants to be able to decide exactly where the camera's going to focus, but sometimes it's better to leave your thoughts to other ideas like composition and timing and decisive moment, and let the camera take over tasks like focusing on a person's eyes automatically if that's appropriate for your situation. I'll leave that with you guys to stew over. Let us know what you think in the comments below and on the forums, of course. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, check out our Twitter and Instagram feeds. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining us for this little midweek retrospective.